The cold bite of a New York autumn wind whipped through the alley behind City Hall as I plunged my hands deeper into the overflowing dumpster, desperate for anything salvageable. Cardboard scraps, coffee cups, and discarded memos crunched under my fingers, until a familiar voice sliced through the night. "Alex? What the hell are you doing?" I froze, heart pounding, and looked up to see David Harlan, my ex from college, now the mayor of New York City, staring down at me with a mix of shock and something painfully close to pity. It had been 10 years since we'd last spoken. A decade that turned him into a political powerhouse and me into a ghost scraping by on the fringes of the city he ruled. David stood there in his tailored coat, the glow from a nearby street lamp casting a halo around his sharp features, the same jawline I'd traced with my fingers in stolen moments back at NYU. I climbed out of the bin, brushing off bits of trash, my cheeks burning not just from the chill but from the humiliation of being caught like this by him, of all people. "Why are you here?" I stammered, trying to sound defiant instead of defeated. He glanced around the empty alley, then back at me, his eyes narrowing. "I could ask you the same, but let's not do this in the open. Come with me." Before I could protest, he grabbed my arm. Not roughly, but with that old authority that always made my resolve waver, and led me toward a side door of the building. My mind raced. What if he called security? What if this was the end of my already crumbling life? Inside his office, the door clicked shut behind us, sealing us in a space that screamed success. Polished mahogany desk, walls lined with plaques and photos of handshakes with dignitaries. David shed his coat and motioned for me to sit, but I stayed standing, arms crossed. "You look different," he said softly, his voice carrying the weight of unspoken history. "Different? Yeah, poverty and heartbreak will do that." Back in college, we'd been inseparable, two young men navigating our first real love in a world that wasn't always kind to guys like us. David came from old money, destined for greatness. I was the scholarship kid from Queens, full of dreams but short on connections. We'd met in a poli-sci class, bonding over late-night debates that turned into something more. Stolen kisses in dorm rooms, whispered promises under the city lights. But then his family got involved. His father, a conservative senator, discovered us and threatened to cut him off unless he ended it. David chose his future over me, or so I thought. "I had to," he'd said back then, tears in his eyes. "This isn't just about us. It's about what I can do for people." I walked away shattered, vowing never to look back. Now, here he was, the city's first openly gay mayor, a beacon for the LGBTQ community, championing progressive policies while balancing the tightrope of New York's cutthroat politics. And me, after losing my job as a journalist during the pandemic, I'd spiraled, evicted, couch surfing, now reduced to dumpster diving for recyclables to sell. "I'm surviving," I finally answered, my voice steady. "Not all of us made it to the top." David leaned against his desk, rubbing his temples. "Alex, if you're in trouble, I can help. Quietly. No one has to know." His offer stung, laced with the implication that I was a liability. But as he spoke, I noticed the fatigue etched into his face, the dark circles, the slight tremor in his hand. Being mayor wasn't the fairy tale the headlines painted. Scandals swirled around his administration. Accusations of favoritism toward big developers, whispers of backroom deals that sidelined affordable housing for the queer community he claimed to represent. I hesitated, then blurted out, "Why were you out there anyway? Mayors don't take out their own trash." He sighed, glancing at a stack of papers on his desk. "Long night. Council meeting ran late and I needed air. Fate. Maybe. Fate." The word hung between us like a fragile thread. We talked, or rather argued, into the early hours. He defended his choices, the compromises needed to pass anti-discrimination laws, the alliances with moderates to fund youth shelters. I countered with the realities I'd seen on the streets. Homeless queer kids turned away because budgets were slashed for luxury condos. As dawn crept in through the windows, something shifted. His hand brushed mine, and for a moment, the years melted away. But I pulled back. "You left me because I didn't fit your image. Now you're offering scraps? No thanks." I stormed out, but not before pocketing a crumpled memo from his desk. Something about a land deal that smelled off. Was it theft? Desperation? Or the start of something bigger? The next few days blurred into a haze of regret and resolve. I crashed at a friend's tiny apartment in Brooklyn, the memo burning a hole in my pocket. It outlined a proposed development in Hell's Kitchen, displacing a historic gay bar and community center for high-rises backed by Harlan Industries, David's family company. Conflict of interest? Absolutely. But exposing it could tank his career, especially with re-election looming. I wrestled with it. Part of me wanted to bury the past, let him help me get back on my feet. Another part seethed at the hypocrisy. The man who'd preached equality now profiting from gentrification that hit our community hardest. Then my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Meet me at our old spot, please. D. Our old spot, Washington Square Park, where we'd shared our first kiss under the arch. I went, curiosity overriding caution. He was there on a bench, looking uncharacteristically vulnerable in jeans and a hoodie. I couldn't stop thinking about you, he admitted as I sat down. After you left, I realized how much I've compromised. Not just in politics, but in life. We walked, talking honestly for the first time in years. He confessed the pressure from his family never stopped. Even as an out mayor, he hid parts of himself to appeal to swing voters. Coming out publicly was calculated, he said bitterly. My advisors said it would humanize me. But you were real. I shared my struggles. The job loss, the isolation, the anger at a system that favored the connected. As leaves crunched under our feet, our hands found each other. A tentative reconnection amid the city's chaos. But reality intruded. Protesters gathered nearby, chanting against the very development in that memo. David tensed. I have to go. Before leaving, he kissed my cheek, soft, lingering. Think about us, Alex. We could try again. Back home, I pored over the memo, cross-referencing online. It linked to campaign donations from developers skirting ethics rules. Publishing it could spark a scandal, force accountability. But it would destroy David, the man I still loved despite everything. Love? The word hit like a punch. Yes, damn it, I still did. Torn between loyalty and justice, I reached out to an old journalism contact, Sarah, now at the New York Times. Over coffee in a dingy midtown diner, I slid the memo across the table. Her eyes widened. This is explosive, Alex. If it's legit, it could end Harlan's term. She probed for my source, but I dodged, claiming an anonymous tip. Deep down, guilt gnawed at me. Betraying David felt like betraying our shared history. That night, as rain pelted my window, David called. I need to see you. His voice was urgent, edged with fear. We met at his private residence uptown, a sleek apartment far from the public eye. Security waved me in, and there he was, pacing like a caged animal. There's a leak, he said without preamble. Someone's feeding info to the press about the Hell's Kitchen deal. If it blows up, it's over for me. I feigned ignorance, my stomach churning. Why tell me? He stopped, facing me. Because I trust you, and because I want more than stolen moments. Alex, I've never stopped loving you. The breakup was the biggest mistake of my life. His words cracked open old wounds. We sat on the couch, inches apart, as he poured out the truth. His father's ultimatum had forced him into a sham engagement with a woman briefly, before he came out. Politics demanded perfection, no room for a working-class boyfriend with radical views. I wanted to confess, to hand back the memo and beg forgiveness. Instead, I kissed him. Fierce, desperate, a collision of past and present. It wasn't about sex. It was about reclaiming what was stolen. We talked until sunrise, weaving dreams of a future where he could be authentic, where I could stand beside him. But dawn brought clarity. Sarah texted, "Stories greenlit. Need confirmation." I stared at my phone, heart splintering. Exposing him meant protecting the community. But at what cost? David stirred beside me, murmuring, "Stay." I slipped out quietly, leaving a note. I need time. The city buzzed with tension. Protests swelled outside City Hall, queer activists decrying the displacement as a betrayal. I joined them anonymously, signs in hand. Equality for all, not just the elite. Spotting David on a balcony, addressing the crowd with promises of review, our eyes met across the divide. His face paled, recognition hurt. That evening, he confronted me at a bar in the Village, the heart of gay New York. You were there today. Why? Anger flashed in his eyes, but so did desperation. I admitted my involvement in the protests, but not the leak. Because you're selling out, I said. That bar was where I came out, where so many found safety. Your family's profiting while kids like us end up on the streets. He slammed his fist on the table. You think I don't know that? I'm fighting from inside. Change takes time. Compromises. Our argument escalated, voices rising amid curious stares. Compromises like leaving me? I shot back. You chose power over love. He leaned in, whispering, I chose survival. For both of us. We parted in fury, but the pull remained. Days later, Sarah called. The story drops tomorrow. Your name's protected. Panic set in. I raced to David's office, bypassing security with a fabricated emergency. He was alone, buried in papers. It's me, I confessed, tears streaming. I took the memo. I'm the source. His face crumpled, betrayal raw and deep. Why, Alex? After everything. I explained. The anger, the injustice, the fear that he'd become what he once fought against. He listened, silent, then stood. Get out. Before I call the cops. I left, shattered. The doors slam, echoing like a final goodbye. The story hit the front page. Mayor's family ties to controversial deal raise ethics questions. Chaos ensued. Press conferences, denials, calls for resignation. David fought back, claiming transparency, but polls tanked. I watched from afar, guilt consuming me. Had I done the right thing or just destroyed the man I loved for a principle? Then, a knock at my door. David, disheveled, eyes red. I need to talk. We sat on my threadbare couch, the weight of the scandal between us. You were right, he admitted. I got lost in the game, but exposing it forced me to confront myself. Forgiveness? Not yet, but a spark of hope flickered. As investigations ramped up, David's world unraveled. Subpoenas flew, allies distanced themselves, and tabloids dug into his personal life. Headlines screamed, Gay Mayor's secret past, old flames and hidden agendas. Somehow our reconnection leaked, perhaps a staffer or my own carelessness. Photos surfaced. Us in the park, the bar argument. The narrative twisted. Was I a jilted lover seeking revenge? Or a whistleblower manipulated by rivals? Public opinion split. Progressive groups hailed me as a hero for challenging cronyism. Conservatives used it to attack LGBTQ representation, claiming David's lifestyle clouded his judgment. Social media erupted, hashtags like Harlan Hypocrisy and Stand With Alex trending. I received death threats from anonymous trolls, forcing me to hole up in a motel paid for by sympathetic donors. David called a press conference, facing the cameras with steely resolve. Yes, Alex Thompson is my ex-partner, he stated calmly. Our past is personal, but the allegations deserve scrutiny. I welcome the investigation. Gasps rippled through the room. By coming clean, he humanized himself, turning vulnerability into strength. Polls shifted slightly in his favor, but the damage lingered. Privately, he reached out via a burner phone. Meet me at the old bar before it's gone. The place was packed with supporters, rainbow flags waving defiantly against the developers. We found a quiet corner booth. You could have ruined me completely, he said, voice low. Why hold back on the full story? I met his gaze. Because despite everything, I still believe in you. The you I fell for. We dissected the mess. His family's influence, my impulsive theft, the societal pressures on gay leaders to be flawless. In politics, being out means constant scrutiny, he explained. One misstep, and they question your entire identity. I nodded, sharing stories of discrimination I'd faced, job rejections, street harassment. Our conversation wove pain with understanding, bridging the chasm. But external forces intensified. His father, Senator Harlan, publicly disavowed him, calling the scandal a distraction from real issues. It stung David deeply. Family rejection echoed our breakup. He never accepted me, David confessed, tears welling. I held his hand under the table, a small act of defiance in a room full of allies. As weeks passed, the investigation revealed more. Not just the deal, but a pattern of favoritism. David suspended involved staff vowing reforms. Yet, re-election loomed, and opponents pounced. A straight, moderate challenger promising stability without drama. Protests turned violent. Clashes with police outside City Hall left bruises on both sides. I got pulled in deeper. Subpoenaed as a witness, I testified under oath, balancing truth with protection. Mayor Harlan acted in what he believed was the city's best interest, I said, omitting our personal entanglements. Perjury? Borderline. But loyalty won. Post-hearing, David waited in a parked car. Thank you, he whispered as I slid in. We drove aimlessly through the boroughs, reminiscing about simpler times. Remember our first Pride? He asked. I smiled. You were terrified, but we marched anyway. That night, in a moment of raw honesty, he proposed, "Run away with me. Leave this circus." Tempting but unrealistic. We can't fix things by running, I replied. The scandal unearthed broader issues. Economic inequality in the queer community, the illusion of progress. Friends urged me to write a book, expose the underbelly. David discouraged it. It'll destroy us both. Tension built, our rekindled love clashing with public roles. One explosive argument in his apartment. You're using me as a shield, I accused. Admitting our past deflects from the real corruption. He fired back. And you're playing martyr to salve your guilt. Words flew like daggers, reopening scars. I stormed out again, questioning if love could survive such turmoil. Yet, in quiet moments, we found solace. A stolen weekend upstate, away from prying eyes. Walking hand in hand through autumn woods, we dreamed of a life unburdened. If I lose the election, he said, maybe it's for the best. We could start over. Hope mingled with fear. What if victory meant losing him to the machine? Back in the city, the tide turned. A counter-campaign emerged, True Harlan, sharing stories of his quiet advocacy. Funding for HIV clinics, anti-bullying programs. Support surged from unexpected quarters. Celebrities, union leaders. My role shifted from villain to reluctant catalyst. As election day neared, uncertainty loomed. Would exposure unite or divide? Our relationship, forged in fire, hung by a thread. Election eve brought a whirlwind of rallies and last-minute pleas. David headlined a massive event in Times Square, the neon lights reflecting off thousands of faces. I watched from the crowd, anonymous in a hoodie. His speech was electric. New York, we've faced division, but together we rise. I've made mistakes, but my commitment to equality is unwavering. Cheers erupted, but skeptics booed. He spotted me, a fleeting smile amid the chaos. Afterward, in a backstage trailer, we embraced. Whatever happens tomorrow, I love you, he murmured. Exhaustion lined his face, but determination burned bright. We spent the night strategizing not just votes, but our future. If I win, I'll push for real change, he promised. No more compromises. I believed him or wanted to. Polls opened amid pouring rain, voters undeterred. I cast my ballot for him, heart swelling with conflicted pride. Media frenzy peaked. Pundits debated if the trash scandal, as it was dubbed, would sink him. Social media dissected our story, some romanticizing it as a second-chance tale, others condemning it as nepotism. Results trickled in. Early leads for the challenger sent shockwaves. David's team huddled in a hotel war room, tension thick. I sat beside him, hand in his under the table. As districts reported, the gap narrowed. Midnight came, too close to call. Supporters chanted outside. Opponents celebrated prematurely. In a quiet moment, David pulled me aside. "This started with you in that alley. Fate or curse?" I chuckled bitterly. "Both." We reflected on the journey. From lovers to strangers to adversaries to this. The scandal had forced growth, him toward authenticity, me toward forgiveness. Dawn broke with a stunning reversal. David won by a razor-thin margin. Cheers exploded. He took the stage, victorious but humbled. "This win is for every New Yorker who's been marginalized," he declared, eyes finding mine. "And for those who hold us accountable." The crowd roared. Post-victory, reality set in. Increased security, endless meetings. Our relationship, clandestine for now. Public scrutiny demanded caution. Being the mayor's partner invited attacks. "We have to be careful," he warned. I nodded, but resentment brewed, always secondary to his career. Conflicts arose swiftly. A new bill for affordable housing clashed with developer interests. David wavered. "It's politics," he said. I pushed back. "Or cowardice." Arguments escalated, echoing our past. One night, after a heated debate, I packed a bag. "I can't be your secret anymore." He blocked the door, pleading, "Give me time, please." Time passed uneasily. I took a job at a nonprofit advocating for queer rights, channeling my energy into change. David implemented reforms, vetoing the Hell's Kitchen deal, funding community centers. Pride Month brought a turning point. He invited me to march beside him, publicly acknowledging our relationship. "Alex Thompson, my partner," he announced to the parade crowd. Applause thundered. Cameras flashed. But backlash followed. Conservative groups boycotted, donors pulled funds. A recall petition circulated, citing personal distractions. David's approval dipped. Stress mounted. "Was it worth it?" he asked one sleepless night. I held him. "Yes, authenticity always is." Personal tolls deepened. My family, estranged since my coming out, reached out. Awkwardly supportive, drawn by the spotlight. David's father disowned him fully, a final blow. Grief bonded us, but doubts lingered. Could love endure the arena? A new scandal brewed. Leaked emails suggesting campaign finance irregularities. Fingers pointed at rivals, but suspicion fell on me. "Did you do this?" David asked, trust fracturing. I denied vehemently, hurt by the accusation. Investigations cleared me, but the rift widened. We sought counseling, unpacking layers of trauma. Abandonment, ambition, societal bias. Gay men in power face double standards, the therapist noted. "You both carry that weight." Insights helped, but healing was slow. As his term progressed, triumphs mixed with trials. Landmark legislation passed. Expanded protections for trans youth, mental health initiatives. I stood proud at signings, our partnership a symbol of resilience. Yet whispers of burnout grew. David confided, "Sometimes I wonder if stepping down is the answer." I encouraged balance, but feared losing him to the job or worse, to resentment. 2 years into his term, the ultimate test arrived. A national crisis. A Supreme Court ruling threatened LGBTQ rights, sparking nationwide protests. New York became a battleground. David led the charge, organizing coalitions, lobbying Congress. I worked tirelessly beside him, coordinating grassroots efforts. Unity forged us closer, but exhaustion frayed nerves. Amid the chaos, a personal revelation hit. David collapsed during a speech stress-induced panic attack. Hospitalized briefly, he faced me in the sterile room. "I can't do this alone anymore." Vulnerability cracked his facade. I promised unwavering support. Recovery brought introspection. We escaped to the Hamptons for a weekend, waves crashing as we bared souls. "That alley night changed everything," he reflected. "You pulled me back to my roots." I admitted my fears. "I worried power corrupted you." Honesty rebuilt trust, love deepening amid shared purpose. Back in the fray, David pushed bolder agendas, defunding discriminatory programs, amplifying marginalized voices. Opposition mounted lawsuits, smear campaigns. A particularly vicious attack targeted our relationship. Mayor's boy toy influences policy? Tabloids painted me as a manipulator, dredging up my poverty-stricken past. I fought back with an op-ed. Love isn't a liability, it's strength. It went viral, shifting narratives. Support poured in from queer elders, young activists. David publicly defended us. Alex is my equal, my conscience. Climax came with a citywide referendum on equality measures. Opponents rallied, funded by conservative PACs. We campaigned relentlessly, door to door, rallies echoing with passion. Election night mirrored the last, nail-biting tallies. Victory measures passed overwhelmingly. Celebration ensued, but reflection followed. In our quiet apartment, overlooking the skyline, David proposed, not marriage, but commitment. Build a life beyond this office. I accepted, tears mingling with joy. His term ended on a high note. Legacy cemented, successor endorsed. We stepped back, traveling, advocating nationally. Life normalized. Dinners with friends, walks in the park, unburdened love. Yet, scars remained. Society's judgments lingered. Debates raged on whether gay leaders could balance personal and public lives. Looking back, from that dumpster to the dais, our story was one of redemption, fraught with choices that sparked controversy. Was it right for Alex to expose David's secrets, even if it ultimately led to greater good?